from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is On Palmer.
Welcome in! Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. As always, on Tuesdays, Glenn West going to be with us to talk Tigers at 1:30, Sharif Ishak on the New Orleans Saints at 2:30. Got a couple of lists we want to talk about. Got Brian Kelly talking about practicing in the conditions. Plenty to get to with LSU on the football side of things. We'll also briefly, at the end of this hour, talk about LSU's basketball team down to the Bahamas yesterday. We'll meet the freshmen in hour number 2 as well. We are going to start with the black and gold as some big news out of Saints camp that involves two big names. How big their impact will be on the 2023 Saints, I guess, remains to be seen. We knew entering this camp that the Saints had a little money to spend and had some things to address. Now, on the running back side of things, we weren't certain exactly to what extent the Saints needed to make a move. Didn't know what Alvin Kamara's suspension was going to look like. Didn't have the news of Eno Benjamin's injury yet. But you get that 3-game suspension, you get the Benjamin Achilles injury, and you realize, okay, they probably got to do something at running back. And they did. Today, they have come to an agreement with veteran running back Kareem Hunt. Now, that's still pending a physical. And assuming that goes well, Kareem Hunt will join the team. We talked about Kareem Hunt yesterday. And my contention was, you're asking Kareem Hunt to fill in for Eno Benjamin here. You're not asking him to fill in for Alvin Kamara. You've made moves in order to compensate for the loss of Alvin Kamara. You've addressed that in the draft. You've addressed that in free agency. And you feel like towards the top end of your roster at running back, you're okay. You can enter the season with a first-team running back in Jamal Williams, who we know led the NFL in rushing touchdowns last year, and Kendre Miller can help. And then you bring in Kareem Hunt in the event that there's an injury, in the event that maybe over the next 4 weeks, Kendre Miller doesn't quite catch on the way you want. You know that Kareem Hunt can help. He can get in there and pass block, he can run a little between the tackles, and he can catch the football. Kareem Hunt is not going to run for 1,327 yards like he did as a rookie. He did that at 22 years old for the Chiefs. But he can be productive. Last year, he made 35 catches. The year before that, 22. The year before that, 38, 37. He's plenty capable coming out of the backfield. He's plenty capable on third down. Does he have the speed he had in 2017? No, he does not. But you're not asking him to play 17 games as a Pro Bowler. That's what he was as a rookie. You're asking him to come in and provide some depth. He's a pro. He knows where to be. He knows what to do. He knows how to carry himself. He knows how to play in the NFL. And you really probably only need him for 3 weeks. Now, if some really bad stuff happens and you've got significant injuries, well, you may have to reassess things. And we'll see what the language of the contract is, what the terms of it are. If you got veteran minimum, it may be a situation where you're going to cut him midway through the season. If there's some more in there, well, they'll have to work some things out. But right now, if the Saints, for the first 3 weeks, want to go out there with the running back room of Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller, and Kareem Hunt, I think they're just fine. Now, you just go out there with Williams and Miller, and you're not certain how far along Miller is, and then, Williams goes down, well, now you got real issues. And that's where Hunt comes into play. But you're adding a veteran running back to a veteran group. You got veterans at wide receiver outside of kind of Olave and maybe Shaheed, but the rest of those guys have been around for a long time. You've got a veteran offensive line. You've got a very veteran quarterback. Jimmy Graham's in the tight end room. I think that counts as a veteran. Like, it's a veteran offense just adding a piece, and I think that's just fine. If you're expecting him to run for 800 yards, that's not the Kareem Hunt you're getting. If you're expecting him to come in for 3 weeks and make sure that he doesn't screw up and that he helps you a little bit, I think that's fine. And that's what you've got. This is a better fix to a 3-week problem where Alvin Kamara is out, in my opinion, than an undrafted free agent who you're taking a flyer on. This guy's proven. It's not like he's 36. He's going to play this season at 28 years old. I think this is a really, really nice sign. That's big name number 1 for the Saints today as they make that signing. Big name number 2 is Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr was a Pro Bowler 4 straight years in Minnesota at outside linebacker. In the middle of the 20-teens, he was a top 10 linebacker in football. And he just played his year 30 season with Dallas, and the productivity has dropped a little bit. Now, this is a guy that was routinely north of 70 tackles in his Pro Bowl years, and last year he made 58. But I do like the fact that in Dallas last year, his 1 year with the Cowboys, he did start both playoff games for them last year. Of course, they beat Tampa and then came up short against San Francisco. But he was a starter for them in those 2 games. And, again, is a pro, a veteran pro. And linebacker's a spot we knew the Saints were going to need to go address. You still have Demario Davis, and that's really good. That's a good starting point and a guy that we'll talk about in the next segment. But he's, still a Pro Bowl level player. And then you've got Pete Werner, who has so much potential and looks the part in every way when he's out there. But he has missed time in his first 2 seasons as a pro. So the question is, can you keep Pete Werner out there? He's only 24, so he's right entering his prime. And if you've got him and Demario Davis healthy, you feel really good about that 1-2. But you've had some issues. You got an injury with Dowell who goes down. I just don't know how good you feel about Zach Bond at this point. He's been around for a while. He's a fairly high draft pick, but in terms of productivity, not great. So what are you going to do beyond those 2 guys? And I think Barr makes a lot of sense. Again, if this is a guy you were going to invest significant amount of money in to be your every down middle linebacker, I would say, well, that's probably not great. If this is a guy that you're getting to play 40% of the snaps, to be available in case of an injury, I think there's still a little bit left in Anthony Barr. Last year for Dallas, in 14 games, 10 starts, he made 58 tackles, 35 were solo, 23 assisted, had 2 tackles for loss, hit the quarterback 4 times, and had a sack. He's a depth piece at this point. So, once upon a time, you go back to, 2018, both these guys made the Pro Bowl. You go back 5 minutes from now, and you're in 2023, you're signing 2 guys on the backside of their NFL careers. Barr in his year 30 season, Kareem Hunt in his year 28 season. 2 different positions, probably a little bit more longevity at linebacker than running back, but that's what you're getting. And I think both of these positions of need were really good. I talked a lot 2 weeks ago about the fact that I thought the Saints could address pass rush. They had numbers there, but in terms of productivity, I was like, well, go get Justin Houston. Go throw it. You have some money to spend. Go throw it at that. But that was probably a luxury. At this point, I would call running back and linebacker necessities. You have to fill in for Alvin Kamara while he's gone. Benjamin's out, and that's not even a guy you don't really want to count on Benjamin anyway. But that was the next guy up probably. You need to fill that role. And linebacker, they're just too thin. You've got to go fill that up. And it looks like they have. Have they massively changed their Super Bowl odds with these 2 pickups? No. Have they improved the roster over 9 o'clock this morning? I would say yes. You brought in 2 long-standing pros with Pro Bowl resumes who are there to fill a role. And I think they've done a really nice job at addressing those. And that's just kind of what you can expect this front office to do. It's not always perfect, but they generally find a way to patch holes and keep moving forward. When some teams in the league tear it down to the studs and try to revamp it, the Saints just kind of go, no, we can get a little better here, and we can get a little bit better here, and we can patch this hole here. And then all of a sudden, they've got a pretty solid club. And I think adding Barr and Hunt are very, very good signings for what they are. If you start asking too much of them, then I'll have my questions. But right now, looking at it for what it is, depth pieces, third-teamers, second-teamers, I think they've done a good job there. So the Saints signing Kareem Hunt and Anthony Barr, pending physicals today down in Metairie. We talked to Sharif Ishak about that coming up at the bottom of hour number 2. We'll meet Mac Markway and Tyree Adams in an hour from right now. But when we come back, I'm fascinated by this list. I don't love to do a ton of lists, but I am fascinated by this list. The NFL players ranking the top 100 players in their sport. We've got LSU guys high. We've got Saints guys that are hanging around. Just kind of want to put some context to the NFL players voted as the top 100 players in the National Football League. That's next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, presented by Sunshine, your John Deere dealer. Tigers are back on the practice field. We'll hear from Brian Kelly, and LSU offensive line commit Ori Williams stops by. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Glenn West was out at practice earlier today on the Ponderosa, also there for Brian Kelly's media availability a little bit earlier today. So we'll chat with him coming up in 14 minutes. Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7. But I want to talk a little LSU and a little Saints here, and a little combo segment because of a list that came out yesterday. And it was the top 100 players in the NFL as voted on by the players. And I think there are some really interesting votes here that touch on both angles of our local interest. And you start with number one, which I think no one's surprised that Patrick Mahomes would be the number one vote. He's won MVPs. He's got Super Bowls. He's been phenomenal since taking over the reins there in Kansas City, and there's not really much you can do to dispute Patrick Mahomes at number one. But what if I told you an LSU player was number two on the list? You'd go, oh, yeah. I mean, people respect Burrow. Like, they think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, maybe the second best quarterback in the league. Yeah, Joe Burrow at two. That makes a lot of sense. It's not Joe Burrow at number two. Joe Burrow is at number 6. Justin Jefferson is at number 2. That surprises me. That surprises me. Now, I know the Jets has been phenomenal and that he's shattering records and just putting up ridiculous season after ridiculous season. Ridiculous. It's a Seinfeld episode. Ridiculous season. But I just would not have had him as the second best player in the sport. The blurb says, Jefferson just keeps getting better and better in his short career. His league-leading marks in 2022 already place him 6th and 7th, respectively, all-time for receiving yards and receptions in a single season. One of the greatest seasons by a wide receiver ever, Jefferson was named Offensive Player of the Year and finished 5th in the MVP voting, the highest placing for a non-quarterback this year, and he's still just 24 years old. Let me get crazy for a second. I feel like I'll rein it in last week of August when we got to start actually talking about a game. Allow me to just go a little nuts here. I'm trying to get as many players from the 2019 team into the Hall of Fame as I can. Okay? That's my goal here. And if I've got Jets at the number 2 player in the NFL and can keep him around that number for 3 or 4 more years, I think I can get him in. We're in an era where everybody's throwing the ball and a lot of numbers are inflated in terms of receiving. Plus, we got an extra game every year. So, like, I get that aspect of it. But I would have probably said, if you asked me yesterday before this list came out, who do NFL people believe is a better wide receiver, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase? I probably would have said Chase. I think that might have been rooted in kind of what they did at LSU and Chase getting the Blitnikoff, and he was a higher pick, and you got to the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff. It may have just not really properly registered the fact that Jefferson's setting a bunch of records. But this is impressive to me. And if I'm going to be duking it out over the next 15, 18 years with the 2001 Miami team, I'm going to need some guys to get to the Hall of Fame. Okay? Because they got him on those Miami squads. So, Jets is now on that list of guys with Burrow. And then we'll see what Chase can do. I know it's crazy. Start talking about third-year players making the Hall of Fame. I'm aware. It's August the 8th. Just give me a second. So, if I can keep Justin Jefferson in the top 10 players in the league as voted on by his peers, and keep rolling up Pro Bowls and All Pros, I'll have something. Because we know what Joe's done. Interestingly enough, Joe at number 6, we know Mahomes is 1, Joe's at 6. There's a quarterback between them. Who do you think that might be? In your head might be rattling around Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, by his peers, number 3 player in the NFL. He was not in the top 100 last year, which shouldn't come as much of a surprise. He hadn't done a ton. Some of us have enough foresight to make him their fantasy football starting quarterback in week 1 last week. Some of us that are geniuses. But no one else really had that as of this time last year. I'm kidding. My fantasy team didn't make the playoffs. He was on the team, though. But the blurb on Hurts, the second season as a starter, Hurts led the Eagles to the best record in the league in a Super Bowl appearance while putting up individual stats that earned him the runner-up in the MVP. As one of the top rushing quarterbacks in the league, he finished with 760 yards and 13 touchdowns, the latter 4th among all positions. The latter 4th. Okay. Oh, the latter was 4th among all positions. Got it. Reading comprehension's tough. His poise under pressure and mobility shot Hurts to the top of this year's list. That's impressive for Jalen Hurts. I'm telling you, though, right now, if you're going to give me the next 10 years, do I want Hurts or Burrow at quarterback? I'm not going to hesitate. I'm going to take Burrow. Hurts was great last year, but I'm going to take Burrow in that spot. But there's more from the LSU and Saints perspective. The next LSU guy comes before the first Saints guy, and it's a little bit lower than I would have thought. If you're telling me Justin Jefferson is the second best player in the NFL, and then you tell me Jamar Chase is 39th, now keep in mind, being the 39th best player in the NFL is pretty good. Like that's real good. But I feel like I've always felt like Jefferson and Chase were pretty close, and that's a pretty big chasm at the top of the league. Chase at 39, incidentally behind CeeDee Lamb, who emerged as the number 1 guy in Dallas last year. They moved on from Amari Cooper. It's CeeDee Lamb's show, and he was great last year, had over 1,000 yards and had a monster season. So Jamar Chase at 39. Then you get to 3 Saints guys, 4 actually. No more LSU guys in the top 100. No more Patrick Peterson in the top 100. No more Odell Beckham in the top 100. Those are some guys that would have occupied those spots in a bygone era. Certainly Andrew Whitworth would have been a guy that would have been there at a certain point as well. But those guys have kind of either phased out of the game or phased out of that part of their career. Demario Davis still clocking in at 43. That's not years of age. That's out of the top 100. Demario Davis continues to age and continues to produce. Been fantastic. And I've kind of been pretty public about my thoughts on Father Time. I was kind of in front of Tom Brady a little bit last year, saying I think it's about time. That team doesn't look that good. They don't block very well. He can't move. I just don't think it's gonna last forever. And it didn't. I'm not there with Demario Davis in terms of his NFL career. Now, clearly he's a good bit younger than Brady, playing a little different position, but I think Demario Davis has some Pro Bowl level play left in him. And I do believe the same thing is close to being true for Cam Jordan. I would bet on Demario Davis a little bit longer than Cam Jordan. He's a little bit younger, but Cam Jordan at number 50, the top 100 NFL players, that's a guy with just gets immense amount of respect from his peers for his ability to show up, go to work, stay out of trouble, and be a part of a winning organization. Cam Jordan's been fantastic, and as he gets to the twilight of his career and finishes these last 3 years in New Orleans, still thought of as a top 50 player in the NFL. That's impressive. And then this one surprised me a little bit, and maybe there's a chip on this guy's shoulder, because every report coming out of Metairie about this guy is way on the positive end. And that's Marshawn Lattimore, who comes in at number 89. I know, had injury issues, but when healthy, top 5 corner in the game. And if you're a top 5 corner in the game, you're better than 89th. And so I believe when this thing comes out next year, you're going to see Marshawn Lattimore moving up in that perspective, because he appears to be ready to roll this year. And that's a good sign for Saints fans who are begging and pleading any way, shape, or form to find more turnovers than they got last year. Lattimore can be a big part of that. And the last Saint, number 95, had Demario Davis at 43, Cam Jordan at 50, Marshawn Lattimore at 89. The last Saint on this list, it's not Michael Thomas, it's not Alvin Kamara. The last Saint on this list is Jamal Williams, which is interesting. And it makes me feel like I missed Alvin Kamara somewhere. But Jamal Williams being on this list is interesting. He's a younger player, obviously led the NFL in touchdowns last year. 95th on this list, and I think a really nice sign by the Saints and a guy that's going to have some success. A running back's only as good as the offensive line in front of him, and if they can get that figured out and see what they want to do at left guard, whether that's Pete, whether that's Hurst kicking down, if Penning can play, like they got to move some things around up front to kind of get that run game figured out. But if they can get that offensive line figured out, you figure Williams and Kamara should be able to have big seasons, and the Saints offense should push some runs across. I'm looking at that Little League game, and that just popped into my head as they're literally trying to push runs across. Should be able to score some points, I should say. So the LSU guys up top with Jefferson at 2, Burrow at 6, Chase at 9. The Saints on the back end, Demario Davis 43, Cam Jordan 50, Marshawn Lattimore at 89, and Jamal Williams at 95. I'm going to go back in this commercial break and see if I missed Alvin Kamara. It feels like he should be on there, especially if Jamal Williams is. Maybe not. Missed a little bit of time. Running backs aging doesn't necessarily bode all that well. Maybe it's punishment for getting in trouble in Vegas. I don't know. But I'm going to go back and make sure I didn't miss him. If I did, I will issue a formal apology for that. But 4 Saints in the top 100. All guys outside of Lattimore kind of moving toward the end of their career. LSU basketball in the Bahamas right now. Played a game against a Puerto Rican team yesterday. Can I tell you a little bit about that to end hour number 1? When we come back, Glenn West was out at practice for Go 24/7, also there for Brian Kelly's media availability. We'll talk with Glenn next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't hunker down for the Florida State game coming up in a month. Have a big watch party, got the chips and dip out, maybe got the steaks rolling, got the drinks flowing, and have your power go out. Don't let that happen. We get afternoon showers. We got one. Game 1 of the College World Series. Paul Skeen's about to take the hill. My power went out. Boudreaux's Electric can help you with it. Boudreaux's Electric, family owned and operated for 40 years by Neil and Melissa Boudreaux. They're a certified generator dealer. They're in the top 3 in the country in generator sales. And they can install a home generator at your home to protect against outages. And that can work on a couple different levels. Of course, if you're at home, you don't want the power to go out. Sometimes we got to leave. Storms are bearing down. It's time to go. You get out of town. Well, your generator can kick on when your power goes out. It can keep your security system running. It can make sure that your refrigerator and freezer are working so that you don't lose all that food. It just makes life a lot easier if you've got a Generac generator dealer. So let them come in and install one in your home today. They've got an entire staff worth of technicians that are full-time employees of Boudreaux's Electric. They're not contracting people out to go do a one-off job. All their employees, full-time, going to take the best care of you so that you can be prepared really during storm season, but all year round. Boudreaux's Electric has the same phone number for 40 years. Here it is. Same number for 40 years. 985-397-1562. Again, that's 985-397-1562. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks.
Coming up on Wednesdays, Off the Bench, we'll bring you the latest practice reports from the Saints and Tigers training camps. Who's standing out? Who should you be excited for? We'll continue to break down the seasons that will be as well. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline as we do this time every single week. Chat with our guy Glenn West of Go 24/7. Glenn, how are you?
I'm hot, Hunt. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. The studio's like 41 degrees. One of the highlights of my day is leaving this studio and walking into the stairwell, which has sun from both sides, and it's like 80 degrees in there, and it just thaws me out after 2 hours in this meat locker. But I get it. It's a little warm out there on the Ponderosa, but it sounds like they're starting to spend a little bit more time outside, according to Brian Kelly today, right?
Yeah. We actually have the opposite effect. I mean, when I'm walking into the practice facility, I get hit with a gust of fresh air, of inside air conditioned. It's just an amazing feeling walking into that facility and how cold they keep it. But yeah, they extended their practice today by an extra 15 or 20 minutes. Brian Kelly told us that they went about an hour 15, hour 20 outside today, and just from everything that we've seen, I mean, we've been able to observe a lot of the outdoor portion of practice so far. It's hot, and the guys are certainly feeling the elements, but when they're out there on the field for their certain reps, they're giving it 100%, and they seem to be, at least acclimating well to the harsh conditions right now, and hopefully that continues and they stay healthy and all that. But it's been a hot one, but I think the work they put in this offseason is really helping them right now.
I'm ready to put the fight to bed, but did Brian Kelly say anything about it today?
He was asked about it once. I mean, he talked about already moving on from it. I mean, he didn't speak a whole ton on it, but he had a question, I think, about just Harold Perkins' role in it, and why he had a conversation with Perkins immediately after it happened. But it was a quick, kind of short response, and they were ready to move on. And he was already talking about a lot of the things that they had wanted to have teachable moments from today's practice and not yesterday.
Any significant injuries that are popping up as y'all are getting a little bit more access to practice?
Yeah, there are a few. We last couple of days we've seen Josh Williams kind of limping around a little bit. He wasn't participating much in the last couple of days. Greg Brooks went down yesterday with an injury, and he hasn't participated much the last few days either. Malik Neighbors seems to be dealing with some kind of wrist or groin injury. He's been out there and he's been participating in most stuff, but he's been feeling the elements a little bit too with a minor injury. Brian Thomas has been a guy that's been a little bit in and out. He wasn't really participating much today in the drills, but I don't get the sense that a lot of these are going to be serious long-term things. I think it's just being more cautious than anything. It's still pretty early in camp where you can still get those guys back and just give them some extra rest to make sure they're 100% for when the season starts.
Most that we've had on or been at practice have kind of talked about the struggles from the secondary. Have you noticed it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little tough on the secondary. I mean, the one drill that I think a lot of the assessment is made on is those one-on-one drills, and you certainly want to give the benefit of the doubt to the secondary in those kinds of situations, just because the receiver is in such a pretty advantageous position there. But the receivers have had a great first 4 or 5 days. I think the offense as a whole has really kind of proven to be a little bit ahead of the defense right now in terms of just kind of where they're at, the comfortability, the consistency that they're having. Nussmeier and Daniels both made some really great throws today. But I also had noticed that a lot of the catches that they're making have been in coverage, and those secondary pieces in 11-on-11 and 7-on-7 drills. They're right there on a lot of those plays. It's just that the receivers are going up and making some really good contested catches the first few days of camp.
Who would you pencil in? I don't think you can take the pin out just yet, but who would you pencil in as a number one corner at this point?
I would feel pretty comfortable in saying Zy Alexander. He's probably got the majority of the first team reps at one corner spot. And they've kind of done a rotation of kind of Deuce Chestnut with Terrence Welch. J.K. Johnson, when he was healthy, was kind of in there as well. And they've also kind of rotated Denver Harrison as well. So they're still figuring out some stuff, but I think Zy Alexander right now, I would pencil in as certainly one starter at that cornerback spot.
Does that surprise you, or is that something you anticipated 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think so. I think I kind of expected maybe him to have a pretty big role. I mean, he's a long corner, and he has a lot of experience. The one that I was a little bit surprised at how much early success he's having, and just in terms of the reps that he's getting, is Andre Sam, who was one of the latest additions out of the portal. He's obviously entering his 7th year now as a college football athlete, so he's seen a lot, just not seen it at this level, but the way he's fit in and kind of really taken a hold of one of those safety spots, particularly with Greg Brooks out right now. He's looked really good. He had a interception off of Nussmeier yesterday to end 11-on-11, and he's had a couple pass breakups. He's been right there with a lot of the receivers on their routes. So I've been very impressed by what Andre Sam's done so far.
Chatting with Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7 for all your recruiting and team coverage. Catch the crew at Go 24/7. One position that I have not asked many guests about, and I haven't really talked about a lot because I feel like there's so much known there, but it's quarterback. Anything of note that you've seen now through a week from the quarterbacks?
I mean, just getting to see Garrett Nussmeier's ball up close and personal. It's a really he has a special kind of arm. I mean, he just really is he's been a lot more consistent this year, I think, in terms of knowing when to check down, knowing when to push the ball, and kind of make the more aggressive reads that he likes to do. But he's been very consistent. I've liked what Jaden Daniels has done so far. We don't get to see a whole ton of Jaden using his legs right now, which is really good. I think it's important for him to really kind of sit in the pocket there and go through his reads and take those shots when they're open. But he's hit a couple deep balls. He's missed a couple deep balls. He's hit a lot of the kind of short and intermediate routes, which is kind of what his bread and butter was last year. But he hasn't been taken off as much as we saw last year at this time either. So I think that's a good sign of just kind of where he's at confidence-wise with his arm. And I just think LSU has a really good situation going on with their quarterbacks right now. I don't think you could go wrong with either one. Daniels is certainly the clear leader and starter right now. But I think both have really shown some really great things here early in camp.
Any freshmen that have caught your eye, whether it's Toviano, the running backs, obviously Lance Hurd, Deshaun Womack, anybody in the freshman class that may be pushing towards a top 2 spot on the depth chart?
Yeah, I think Toviano is probably the first one that comes to mind. He's certainly long, athletic, secondary defensive back that I think they'll be able to use in a variety of ways this year. I don't know exactly if that's going to be as a starter from day one, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he does end up carving a really big role by the time the season's over. He's looked really solid so far. Lance Hurd's getting a lot of the second-team reps right now at right tackle. Deshaun Womack is kind of at defensive end right now with Quincy Wiggins and Savion Jones getting a lot of reps there. I've been really impressed by Kamorian Pimpton, the tight end. He's just a huge, huge target with a really great catch radius, and he goes up and makes those contested catches. I think he could be a really good kind of goal line red zone option for LSU. If he continues to have the kind of camp that he's having right now, I think they really like what he's done, and I could certainly see him carving out a role.
Glenn, we appreciate some time.
All right, Hunt. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Glenn West, senior writer, Go 24/7. He and Sonny do a great job over there with the recruiting coverage as well as the team coverage as they're out at fall camp each and every day. One of the things he mentioned there is that I wanted to add to is Kamorian Pimpton. So he's got some traits that just catch your eye, and the first is the length of his arms. It's just very obvious when Kamorian Pimpton goes out there, like, holy cow, that guy can reach out and reach across the field. His arms are noticeably long, and the first day that we were able to watch them throw it around a little bit, Pimpkin made a really good catch, kind of twisting his body and making a catch back towards the sideline over a defender. And you're just looking at some of that going, man, that's a guy that's got a lot of size, a lot of length, and can kind of control his body a little bit. It's a wonder to me that Vanderbilt secured his commitment. How no one, like in the state of Texas, was paying enough attention to make that happen earlier. There's a few schools over there. And then LSU obviously swooped in and saw what they like. Brian Kelly's got some kind of pitch to tight ends because obviously when he got here there weren't enough, so that's a pretty easy sell. But now it's almost a crowded room in terms of what they've got on the team, what they've got committed, all that kind of stuff. And they continue to get guys, and Pimpton's one of them. That might be a guy, like we're going to have a whole week after the Florida State game to kind of play around with what ifs, and because they have a scrimmage the next week against Scrambling. So I don't think you're going to see Pimpton do a lot in the Florida State game is my guess. Could you see a lot of him against Grambling? I think it's possible. And that would be really cool because he's a real talent, and it's noticeable even to those of us who aren't necessarily the most trained talent advisors, evaluators over there on the beat. You can tell Pimpton can move a little bit. He's got really long arms, and he's making some nice catches. So I'm with Glenn there. I like what I've seen from Kamorian Pimpton. Kind of keeping our eye on the Little League World Series here. These two teams are playing to get to Williamsport in the regional final. It is Texas East, which I believe is Keyville, playing against Ascension, a team from over in Gonzales. They are in the final inning, the sixth, and Texas has a 4-3 lead. It was 4-0, and Louisiana scored 3 runs in the bottom of the fifth inning. So got to hold them here, keep it within 1, and have a comeback like they did yesterday. We'll keep you updated as we move forward here on the Hunt Palmer Show. When we come back, LSU basketball is in the Bahamas. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because they're literally playing in a hotel ballroom, but we did get some updates from Kent Lowe on Twitter, wrote a story on it, had some quotes from Matt McMahon, so I want to finish out hour number 1 with that.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-75.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, presented by Sunshine, your John Deere dealer. Tigers are back on the practice field. We'll hear from Brian Kelly, and LSU offensive line commit Ori Williams stops by. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, closing up hour number 1 here on this Tuesday. LSU men's basketball is taking advantage of a trip you can take every 4 years out of the country during the summer to play some competitive basketball. You can go out overseas, to go to Australia, you can go to Europe, you can go Canada, and LSU went to the Bahamas. So they're in Nassau at Atlantis, and they are, if you haven't seen this on Twitter or pictures on LSUsports.net or wherever, Instagram, they're literally playing in a hotel ballroom. Like, they took a hotel ballroom, and it's huge, but it's they've got a floor laid down and some chairs. There's no bleachers. No, they're just playing some ball on the hardwood in a ballroom. Now, they're spending some time on the beach and whatnot too, and it's a good trip for them before school starts to play some basketball against grown men. They're playing 25, 26-year-old men, and experiencing the Bahamas while also getting some work in. So some of the things that I noticed, and look, I didn't see a play of this game. That's obvious. It's not available anywhere. There's some video footage, but you can't really see much of anything. So I'm looking at the stat sheet and what we could read from Kent Lowe, and then the quotes from Matt McMahon, and a couple things that I liked that I saw from this outing. LSU shot the ball exceptionally well in the game. They were 10 of 18 from the three-point line. Tyrell Ward, who shot it well last year when given an opportunity, was 3 of 6 from deep, which was good to see. Jordan Wright made the only 3 he attempted. Damian Collins, who's the former 5-star, went to Kentucky, 6'10", long, rangy. To me, he's going to be a shot blocker on this team, was 2 of 4 from downtown, which I thought was very, very encouraging. And then you saw Will Baker, the 7-footer from Nevada, who's a lefty that's very skilled offensively, was 1 of 2 from downtown, went 4 of 5 from the floor. So LSU really shot the ball very well, which is encouraging to see. I think you're going to see a lot of that this year. LSU's not going to be the most athletic team that you see in the SEC. They're not going to be the best defensive team that you see in the SEC, I don't think. They're going to have to win some games because they're skilled offensively, because they can score around the rim. They can throw it down to Will Baker, the 7-footer, who can make some things happen around the rim, which he did, going 4 of 5 from the floor. They can shoot it, and they did. So that was very, very good to see. And Mwani Wilkinson was 3 of 4 from downtown. I know that 2 of those, based on reading the story on LSUsports.net, were back-to-back from the corner. We know what Mwani can do on those corner threes, so that was very, very good to see as well. Carlos Stewart had a little bit of a rough go offensively. He's going to be a guy that carries some of the scoring load for LSU, and he went 1 of 9 from the floor. But everybody else really shot the ball well. 2 pretty big negatives. The first one is turnovers. This is hard to even look at. LSU turned the basketball over 29 times in the game. That's not an exaggeration, 29. They got called for some moving screens, Matt McMahon said, and got called for some offensive fouls that added to that number. But 29 turnovers is brutal to look at. You look at Damian Collins had 7 as a forward, and Mwani had 6 turnovers, which kind of shocks me because he's never been a guy that really created situations where he could turn the ball over. Hadn't dribbled that much, hadn't been an assist guy, really been a corner 3 defense guy. So for him to turn it over 6 times, I thought was odd. Tyrell Ward and Will Baker each had 3 turnovers. Carlos Stewart had 3 turnovers. So the turnover number got to get a lot better. But I like the way that they scored. I like the way that they assisted. 10 assists for Carlos Stewart, which I absolutely loved in the game. They assisted. They had 20 assists at LSU on 29 makes. So I think that's fantastic, sharing the basketball and shooting the 3, which I thought was very, very good. So offensively, it looks pretty good. They got a huge lead in this game. It was over 20 points in the first half. In the third quarter, they were terrible, turned the ball over a ton, gave up a 20-point lead, and were actually losing the game. Over a certain point, Matt McMahon called the third quarter the worst quarter in the history of Bahamas basketball. I don't know how far that goes back or what the records look like there, but I don't know that I would disagree if you turn the ball over that time and cough up a 20-point lead. But LSU did come back in the fourth quarter and find a way to win it, 86-82. Big bummer for freshman Michael Williams, who was he and Corey Chess were the 2 freshman members in this class. 6 seconds into his college career in a scrimmage, he goes down with an injury. Not sure what the severity of it is or exactly what it is. It didn't sound like it was like season-ending or anything, but Mike Williams is out. And Jalen Cook, who's likely LSU's starting point guard, did not play. He's banged up. He's made the trip to the Bahamas. He's there with his teammates, but he's banged up and didn't play. So for LSU to shoot the ball that well, to score that many points, and to create that many assists without your likely starting point guard, I think is a positive sign. Am I going to start making SEC record predictions after a few minutes in a Bahamas ballroom? Probably not. Am I going to spend a lot more time on LSU basketball today? Actually, none. But I do think it's interesting. It's a little different. It's probably not something you'll hear a ton about on the rest of the shows, so I wanted to get to that today. I thought a pretty encouraging go from seeing no video from LSU basketball. If you clean up the turnovers and create more shots on the basket, the way that they're shooting it, you're going to be a pretty solid offensive team. So I enjoyed what I read in the box score for the most part. It's positivity season for basketball. We'll get to some critiques later when they start to report and when they get into games, and we've got some real things to chew on. But let's just show a little positivity towards the basketball team here on this Tuesday. If you're looking for something to do this Tuesday, speaking of positivity, Plucker Sports Trivia. Every single Tuesday, we'll be there 8:30, have you out of there by 10 o'clock, 5 rounds, live action trivia. Win gift cards, $15 in every round for first place, $5 in every round for second place, $10 for best team name at the end of the night. We always have a good time. So grab a team and come out to Pluckers tonight for some sports trivia. Missed any of hour number 1? Catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com, on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or, of course, on YouTube. Talk some Saints, Kareem Hunt, and Anthony Barr. Chat with Glenn West on LSU, plus the top 100 players in the NFL, LSU and Saints flavor there. Lots in the second hour. We'll meet the freshmen. We'll talk with Sharif Ishak when we come back. We're talking LSU fall camp right after Sports Center. Come back with us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, live Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Running back Jonathan Taylor's left Colts training camp to continue rehabbing his ankle injury off-site, reports ESPN's Stephen Holder. Taylor, on the PUP list, has been in a standoff with the team over a lack of a contract extension. He's asked for a trade, which owner Jim Irsay has rejected. The Saints expected to sign running back Kareem Hunt and linebacker Anthony Barr pending physicals, according to ESPN's Diana Rossini. Because of injuries and starting running back Alvin Kamara's 3-game suspension to start the season, Hunt and Barr provide needed depth at both positions for New Orleans. ESPN radio host Harry Douglas.
Kareem Hunt, I think this is a tremendous signing. You're bringing in a guy that can not only be a rusher, but a receiver out of the backfield. So I think that's the thinking there. When you look at that organization, Anthony Barr, a guy that can, play the linebacker position, be a rush guy, play in space, move around very, very well. Even though he's a bit older, he still can play at a very high level.
Harry Douglas on ESPN Radio Afternoons. Major League Baseball playoffs start October 3rd with the Wild Card Series. World Series begins October 27th.
You don't need special gadgets to be a hero. With unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase, everywhere, the Capital One Quicksilver Card makes you the hero of every purchase. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're coming to you the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the 1s and 2s. We're checking out the Gonzales boys, the Little Leaguers from Gonzales, looking to punch their ticket to Williamsport, but they are down to their final strike as they trail by 2. The tying run is on first base. They've got first and second with 2 outs, but Gonzales trailing Texas East with the ticket to Williamsport on the line here on ESPN. There's a swing and a miss. Texas is headed to Williamsport, and the kiddos from Gonzales will come on back home. But a heck of a run for those kids to get through the entire summer and make it till one inning from Williamsport. But instead, it'll be Needville, Texas, that is heading to the Little League World Series. So heck of a run by the kiddos from the 225, but they'll head on back home to Gonzales. This is something that we haven't done yet, and I just kind of wanted to get a little bit more in depth based on a quote from Brian Kelly today. I don't have the quote for you, but I can paraphrase for you pretty succinctly when he was talking about his running backs. And it said that basically, in his experience, the veterans in the running back room generally rise to the top when it's all said and done. And I believe that will be the case this year as well. I think it's fun to say, oh, man, Caleb Jackson, like, you see, like, he could come on. You remember Justin Vincent as a freshman? You remember, and you could kind of start getting through that. Look at Kenny Hilliard as a freshman, really exploded in 2011. Leonard Fournette, Darius Geis as a freshman, and it's happened. Some freshman running backs have showed up and been ready to go, but they probably didn't have this many players in front of them. When you look at this LSU running back room, Josh Williams is back for his 5th year. John Emery's back for his 5th year. Noah Cain is entering his 5th year in college. Logan Diggs entering his 4th year in college. Then you've got Armani Goodwin and Trey Bradford, who are multi-year players behind them. That's 4 guys who have been in college for 2+ years. And then you've got Caleb Jackson and Trey Holly. That's 8 scholarship running backs. 8. And I think the guys that are the oldest are going to be the guys who contribute the most. I think that starts with Josh Williams right now. Now, Williams is banged up a week into camp. He's not going through drills at this point, but it doesn't appear to be super serious, and I think he's going to wear 18. I think he's going to be the first guy through. And I think they brought in Logan Diggs into a room that already had 7 running backs because they think he can make the team better. That's why I think they brought Logan Diggs in. And I expect him to contribute. And we're talking about a guy in Diggs at Notre Dame, where they've got some talent. Last year as a sophomore, 165 rushes, 822 yards. That's 5 yards a pop, 4 touchdowns plus 10 catches for 211 and 2 scores. He went for 1,000 yards from scrimmage and 6 touchdowns at Notre Dame. He's going to help. And I do believe that John Emery is going to make some plays. That's kind of what he's done. Your memory of John Emery at LSU is not the first team all-conference, second-round pick that you probably thought when the 5-star number 1 running back in the country signed to come to LSU. It's not of the 7 times he's run for 100 yards. It's not even of a game like Tyrion Davis-Price going for 300 yards on Florida. Your memories of John Emery are specific plays. It's Alabama in 2020 down the left sideline. It's Auburn last year busting through the right side of the line. It's Bama last year catching a swing pass and making a guy miss on the sideline and dancing into the end zone. Those are it's the plays that he's made, not the consistent production or the consistency. That's John Emery. And I think that's going to be him this year. He's still big, fast, strong, agile, just hasn't put it all together. And again, after missing the whole spring and not doing as much in the summer and jumping into a crowded room where reps are tough to come by, do I expect some sort of coming out party as a senior? I don't. Do I expect him to bust off a highlight reel player 3? Yeah, I do. Noah Cain's been dependable. Older player. I think he'll get some carries. I think he'll run for 4 yards a carry. I think he'll score 4 or 5 touchdowns. Are 3 of those against Grambling? I don't know. Maybe 2 of them are against A&M. I don't know. But it'll be here and there. I'm worried about Armani Goodwin. Big picture. Injuries. I've been out there for a couple practices. He's got a monster knee brace on, and he's limping through every drill. That, to me, doesn't sound like a guy who's going to bust through an 8-person running back room. Now, you go out there and Leonard Fournette's gimpy a little bit before Wisconsin, probably going to get the ball because he's the dude. Armani Goodwin's not going to get that benefit of the doubt. He's just banged up. Trey Bradford, I don't know how much impact you're going to get there. Those 2 guys are in a different tier. To me, there's 3 tiers. There's the Josh Williams, Logan Diggs, John Emery, Noah Cain tier. Old players, productive, guys who have been productive. There's Bradford and Goodwin, who are not young anymore, but certainly haven't contributed much because of injury and the wheels that circle around with Trey Bradford, wherever those lead. And then you got the freshmen, Caleb Jackson and Trey Holly, who have got talent. There's 6 guys in front of them. And Brian Kelly said today, probably going to lean on the older guys. So I look at Josh Williams, and I know that it's a polarizing discussion. There's the Hesters of the world and the guys who just love the underdog story of the former walk-on who's earned a scholarship and been productive. And you look up at the end of last year when LSU leaned on him more than we may have thought, and he ran for 530 yards and caught 132 yards more worth balls, and he had 664 yards and 6 touchdowns, and go, that's a guy that I want on my team. And that's fine. And there are some people that will sit there and go, I don't want to walk on carrying the football for LSU. And that's fine too. Whatever camp you fall in. But my contention is he's going to wear 18 and he's going to get the ball a little bit. And then I think it's Diggs, and then I think it's Emery, and then I think it's Cain, in that order. And then I'd personally, in the 3rd and 4th quarter against Grambling, probably rather see more of Caleb Jackson than Armani Goodwin or Trey Bradford. 1, because Goodwin needs to get healthy. And 2, because I think Caleb Jackson's got some real talent. Maybe the fastest back on the team. Eventually the biggest back on the team. Emery's got him at this point, and Cain does too. But the frame is there. And I'd like to see him get some run. So Frank Wilson's got a job on his hands. But this is the same running back coach that was here in 2011 when they started every game with Spencer Ware, and he hammered away and hammered away and hammered away. And then they went to Michael Ford, and he was faster than everybody who'd been getting beat up by Spencer Ware for 3 quarters. And then by the time they got to Knoxville to play Tennessee in October, They handed the ball in a little fullback dive to Kenny Hilliard, and he drug like 8 Tennessee Volunteers with him. Said, well, probably got to get that guy the ball. And, oh, by the way, Alfred Blue's still on the team. And he got all those guys involved, and they were all happy, and LSU won a lot of games. So this is not Frank's first rodeo with a crowded running back room full of guys that have some talent. Quite far from that, actually. Frank knows what he's doing, and he'll get these guys ready to roll. Inevitably, injuries will happen. Inevitably, matchups may be different based on what you need. If you get behind in a game and you got to throw it, okay, who's the guy that can catch it and pass block? If you need to salt the game away late, who can hammer the ball in there between the tackles? If you got a goal-to-go situation, who's the running back I think can finish this 3-yard run? Like, there are different times in different games where you need different guys. That don't mean you're predictable by personnel. But I don't think there's a 1,000-yard rusher on this team because of the numbers. And I don't think there's a first-round NFL draft pick or a second-round NFL draft pick on this team as of right now. And that's a little bit different than the life we've known as LSU fans, but it is what it is. It's a massively loaded team in terms of running back room, in terms of depth, just not the top end. I think they'll be fine. I think the surrounding pieces of this offense mean that they'll be fine. If this was the running back room you were taking into a Les Miles season with a compromised quarterback, I would be terrified. This is a season where you're coming into year 2 of a Mike Denbrock offense with a Heisman contender at quarterback and one of the best receivers in the country. The running back is an ancillary piece. It's a complementary piece. And I think they've got plenty of guys that can be complementary pieces on this team. Just my thoughts on the running back. We'll get more information as we kind of move forward. We'll see if Josh Williams gets healthy. We'll see if Armani Goodwin can shed that knee brace, and maybe the conversation changes as you move forward in the fall. But that's kind of how I see it at this point right now. When we come back, we'll meet the freshman. Got 2 more today. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
How's 10% off sound? Generally pretty good, huh? David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets are prepared to give you 10% off of their services. All it takes, tell them you're a Hunt Palmer Show listener, which you are, and then you have to buy a bathroom renovation and remodel and closet renovation and remodel. If you do the combo and get both, 10% off with David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. They've been doing this for 30 years. Maybe it's a full-scale renovation or remodel. They can do that. They're a licensed contractor. They'll be the only phone call you make. He handles it all the way through. Maybe it's something simple, tub-to-shower conversion on the bathroom side, and just using your space more efficiently on the closet side, using some cubbies, using some shelves, using some drawers, some mirrors, some racks. They can customize their work to your situation. Go to onebathandclosets.com, check out the testimonials, request that free consultation. Doesn't cost you a thing. Let David Duvall and his team come in and show you what they can do. Onebathandclosets.com is the website, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13.
Up on Wednesdays off the bench, we'll bring you the latest practice reports from the Saints and Tigers training camps. Who's standing out? Who should you be excited for? We'll continue to break down the seasons that will be as well. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I was just looking at Instagram in the break, and LSU basketball just put some highlights up of their game in the Bahamas that I talked about at the end of hour number 1. It's so funny to look at. I mean, they're in a ballroom. There's like light fixtures in the background, wallpaper. There's no bleachers anywhere. There's just some chairs set up around it. I mean, it was a regular station size court, and it seemed like it was a pretty well-played basketball game in terms of shooting. I don't know if the turnovers were all that well played. Can't really put that on much of the ballroom, but just an odd place to play, but really pretty place to play once you leave the ballroom and you go check out Atlantis, which they were doing, putting up some vlogs of the team kind of bonding, getting out in the water, on the beach, at the pool, that kind of stuff. So good for the Tigers a little bit right before school starts. Get out there and play some basketball, enjoy some time in the Bahamas. If you want to hear my recap of Game 1 of the Bahamas, and they'll play again today, you can catch that on demand at the end of hour number 1 today. All right, let's meet the freshmen.
Meet the freshmen. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
2 more freshmen today in the class of 2023. We will start with Mac Markway, 6'4", 250-pound tight end from St. Louis. Played at DeSmet High School. He played at DeSmet for Robert Steeples, who is obviously an assistant on this LSU staff. And he played with Mekhi Wingo, who's clearly an All-American player on this team. So guy that was familiar with LSU when he came down and saw that those two guys would be around. His dad was a standout tight end at Iowa. There are very few places where you're going to get me to really throw some adulation on you as an Iowa Hawkeye, and tight end's one of them. If you play tight end at Iowa, usually pretty good. So his dad played at Iowa. Mac was offered by Ohio State, Florida, Miami, Iowa. He committed to Florida, actually, under Dan Mullen. And then when that all kind of went away and Mullen was let go, he reopened things and ended up committing to LSU with Robert Steeples and company here in Baton Rouge. 4-star recruit, just about across the board. Number 3 tight end in the country by ESPN. Number 8 tight end in the country by Rivals. This is the issue with Mac Markway. I checked this as many ways as I could. I would not testify that this is 100% factual under oath. I will tell you that I think it's factual. I think he's only played 4 games in the last 3 years. I think. His COVID year got shortened, and that was a 4-game season for him. Then he misses, I believe, his junior and senior seasons with a knee injury. I looked as hard as I could for this stuff. I was Googling all over the place. All I could see was that he missed his junior season, and the most recent article I could find said that he was potentially going to miss a chunk of his senior season. I don't know that he played his senior season either. Again, can't testify under oath. I looked. He hasn't played very much football in the last 3 years. That I feel comfortable saying. But he's a big dude, 6'4", 250 pounds. And if you look at this LSU tight end room, and you look at Mason Taylor, who's not a huge guy, and you look at the freshmen outside of Markway, it's not a group that's as physically imposing as some tight end groups may be. So I could see a situation where Markway was called upon to help with some blocking. Now, you can always put another offensive lineman out there, a reserve tackle, if that's the kind of formation you want to get into, to play a third tackle. I don't think you have to force Markway to the field in that way. It's just possible. And I don't know how great a blocker he is because he hasn't played very much. But in terms of just brute strength, size, frame, that whole thing, like, he's more imposing than Mason Taylor is. So my guess is a guy who's missed a couple of years due to injury, hasn't played a ton of football, would probably be eased in and not asked to do a lot right out of the chute, maybe at all this year, but certainly a guy with a big frame that a lot of really good schools wanted. If Florida and Ohio State want you, I'll take my chances. So Mac Markway, our first freshman on Meet the Freshman, a standout tight end from St. Louis. Tyree Adams is our second freshman today. Speaking of imposing and large, Tyree would, in fact, count there. 6'7", 300 pounds from St. Aug. He is an offensive tackle, is a consensus 4-star recruit. Top 10 offensive tackle in the country by Rivals, top 11 by On3. LSU shouldn't, in theory, lose a lot of St. Aug Purple Knights. Frank Wilson went to St. Aug. Cortez Hankton went to St. Aug. Like, LSU should do pretty well at St. Aug, which generally speaking is going to bode pretty well for you. Trey Turner, pretty good player. The Fournette kid, it turned out all right. I thought Tyrann Mathieu had a decent career. St. Aug tends to produce some pretty good ones, and LSU ought to be in good shape with those two guys on staff. Tyree Adams joins that crew. I read an interview about Tyree Adams when I was looking around through this. He was like, man, it's just home. It just feels like home when you got Frank and Cortez there, guys that have walked these halls and are now at LSU. Like, it's just a place I wanted to be. And I love the signing of Tyree Adams. He absolutely fits the model and the type of offensive lineman Brian Kelly is going to recruit. 6'7", 300 pounds, just a huge frame, kind of lean, will fill out. It's not hard to see Tyree Adams playing at 320 pounds on that 6'7" frame. And I think it's a good spot for him developmentally because you're not asking Tyree Adams to come in and play tackle very quickly. Will Campbell's going to be there 2 more years. Emory Jones is going to be there 2 more years. Lance Hurd's right there with you and projects as a tackle. So this could be a depth piece, could be a guy that, forces somebody to move into guard if he develops into be a great, great player. So I think this is another one of those guys that just oozes the mold Brian Kelly's looking at, and it's a comfy spot. I wouldn't call what Will Campbell walked into last year very comfy. In fact, I would call it the opposite of that. I wouldn't call the spot Emory Jones walked into when he had to play week 2 at right tackle very comfy. That's the opposite of that. But because those guys established themselves the way they did and became stalwarts on the offensive ends, that allows some of these tackles and some of these young offensive linemen that LSU's brought in to get their feet wet. Run with the scout team. Run with the twos. Watch guys that are doing it the right way and found a way to the field early. I think Tyree Adams has potentially a really, really good future at LSU and certainly has the frame to be a heck of a tackle in his time in Baton Rouge. That's our 2 freshmen for today. Got Mac Markway and Tyree Adams coming up tomorrow on Meet the Freshmen. It'll be Caleb Jackson and Kylan Jackson, pair of Jacksons, one on the running back side, one at the safety side, coming up on tomorrow's show. Got some news today. Found out that, speaking of freshmen, a guy that's going to be a freshman, Caden Durham, the running back that LSU very much is in the mix for from Duncanville, the teammate of Colin Simmons. Both guys are set to announce their college choices on Thursday. Caden Durham's going to do so on 24/7 Sports at 2 o'clock. So right in the middle of our show on Thursday, Caden Durham is going to make his college announcement. It is everyone's inclination that he's going to pick LSU. I haven't seen really anybody suggest he was going to go elsewhere. Simmons, 50-50. Nobody seems to know. Some people think Texas, some people think LSU. He's going to announce on 3. So if you want to just play the crazy connect the dots game, like, oh, well, they're teammates. They're announcing on the same day. One's going to LSU. Like both these guys are going to LSU. Or I could play devil's advocate and say, yeah, they are announced on the same day, but one's on 3 and one's on 24/7. Like, they've split this up. They're splitting things up. They're going to split up. One's going to Texas, one's going to LSU. Like, we don't know. The truth is, we just don't know. But we will bring you that on Thursday, the update as we get it, and hopefully LSU can pull in a couple really big fish in this class. That would put them at 25 commitments if they could get those 2 guys. But long way to go before we get to that coming up on Thursday. All right, we take a timeout. When we come back, Sharif Ishak from Saints Camp. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Just love telling you about the progress that Ochsner and MD Anderson are making in their partnership to fight cancer. It's Ochsner Health. It's MD Anderson Cancer Center. And they have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. The collaboration is going to provide patients in the region with cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in our state with a fully integrated cancer program that's based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. The physicians are going to have direct access to MD Anderson specialists and their researchers, and Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center is going to offer select clinical trials available to eligible patients. Expert care is going to be provided in 7 different locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, Baton Rouge. We'll have Ochsner Cancer Center here in Baton Rouge, Ochsner Medical Center over in Kenner, St. Tammany Cancer Center, of course, in St. Tammany Parish. Ochsner and MD Anderson are going to work together in the future to certify additional sites. That's fantastic news as we continue this fight against cancer that affects everyone. If you want to know more about this incredible development in our state, I invite you to go to Ochsner.org. It is the Ochsner and MD Anderson Cancer Center. It is at Ochsner.org.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
Matt Moscona inviting to join us for Tuesday's AFR, presented by Sunshine, your John Deere dealer. Tigers are back on the practice field. We'll hear from Brian Kelly, and LSU offensive line commit Ori Williams stops by. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along, Tuesday edition Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Back out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Our guy Sharif Ishak from WDSU, been at Saints camp for a couple of weeks, joins us now. Sharif, how are you?
Not hot.
Not hot.
Practice.
Are you inside?
Well, yeah, they didn't practice, so I'm not hot.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, just taking a day. I understand. While they're not practicing, they are in fact signing new players, and it sounds like Anthony Barr and Kareem Hunt are next up, pending a physical change. What say you about these two signings?
Look, hey man, they need bodies at both positions. Could use a little depth. I mean, I've been saying this for quite some time now. What if Demario Davis or Pete Werner goes down, and now Demario Davis is down with a calf injury? Dennis Allen thinks it's minor, doesn't think it's going to be, a long, situation. But still, regardless, in the season, if somebody goes out in that position, who do you have behind those two guys? And at least you bring in Anthony Barr. I know he's been dealing with a lot of injury issues over the last few seasons, pectoral, knee, hamstring. But you have to create some kind of veteran depth there, because even, if they didn't sign him, I'm like, who? I mean, Andrew Dowell got hurt. He's out for the season. Nephi Sewell, I mean, and maybe DeMarco Jackson, the guy they drafted last year out of App State. I think that this was the right move. You have to bring in some kind of veteran presence to that linebacker room. It doesn't hurt. I always say it doesn't hurt to create depth in any situation, especially at linebacker. And then Kareem Hunt, I mean, he was the rushing champion in his rookie year in 17 with the Chiefs. I know it's not 17 anymore, but once again, Kamara suspended for the first 3 games. You lose, Benjamin last week. He's out for the season. You don't know if another injury happens. And you bring in a guy who's a little versatile. I understand, he's in his 7th year, just like AK, but I like the move. You have to have options. You have to have options at that position more than anything, because last season that really hurt the Saints, not to have another running back, behind the main 2 guys in Ingram and Kamara.
So for the first 3 weeks, we understand the 3 bodies that will likely be out there. Hunt now added to the Saints running back room. How do you think that what do those roles look like until Kamara gets back?
I think Jamal Williams, gets the bulk of the carries. He is the guy who's your bruiser. He can also, give you a little breakaway from here and there. I think, I think that they probably sold Kareem Hunt on, you're just not a third down back, because I think that's where Cleveland messed up a little bit. They didn't use him the right way. I think you can kind of use him somewhat in the Alvin Kamara role, maybe not the full role like Alvin Kamara, but you could use him in the passing and running game a little bit better than Cleveland uses. You sell him on that. That could be your top 2 backs, and then you throw Kendre Miller in there for a little mix-up. I mean, Kendre is still in the process of learning. He has also coming off a knee injury, so you don't want to completely throw him in there right away. At least let him learn that playbook, learn the offense a little bit more. I mean, of course, that Kareem's going to have to learn it too with Derek Carr and the rest of the offense, but still, it doesn't hurt to throw a veteran guy in there to help out the rookie while Alvin Kamara is out. I always said, look, that's the position you can't hurt to have more players in.
For sure. Anthony Barr and Kareem Hunt look to be the newest 2 New Orleans Saints. Dennis Allen, I haven't heard the soundbite. I just read a little bit, but it sounded like, in terms of what I read, that he is a little bit irritated with the soft tissue injuries that have been popping up. Can you kind of update us on some of that?
Yeah, that's the one thing that he complimented last year. The soft tissue injuries were down last year, but that's what's biting them so far in this training camp when it comes to Andrews Pete's. His injury, his quad, and then Demario Davis's calf. the Traquan Smith, Rashid Shaheed, the groin injuries. These are all injuries. But let me tell you one thing about Dennis Allen. He's telling us about all the injuries. It's not like this is anything secretive. He's telling us as his press conference opened, this is what happened, this guy, that guy, this guy. But those 4 names I mentioned are tissue injuries. And I think he just, it happens, man. It happens during training camp. And I think he's a little frustrated that's happening more often right now. I don't know if it's heat related. You get tired when it's super hot outside and injuries just happen whenever you're fatigued. I think you're just starting to see he's getting a little frustrated with it. And it's nothing he can really do about the weather. I mean, they could practice indoors and, they practice indoors and they lose a running back. And, he's out for the season with a knee injury. And it's just stuff like Achilles, with, Benjamin. And stuff happens with the soft tissue. I think it's because you're just simply tired from the heat and maybe your body just isn't really adjusting to it that great whenever it's 105 degrees outside.
Jeff Duncan wrote a great column. I saw you reply to it on Twitter talking about, hey, all these injuries, they're piling up. There's got to be something to it with the heat. The Saints need to get out of Metairie. And we've seen them out of Metairie a good amount over the last 40 years, and it sounds like it's going to start next year and may continue. What do you know about that, and what do you think about that?
I wouldn't 100% say – I wouldn't say it's going to 100% happen. And they may explore it. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Look, man, I don't play football. I'm not a big person. I don't know why the Heat is doing it. I don't know if it's because of fatigue, but yeah, I get it. Look, going away, they did it for 3 years at the Greenbrier. The injuries were down, but it's still, man, injuries are going to happen in football. Some teams are doing it. Their training camps away from their actual home base. The Cowboys are all the way out in California. I don't know, man. You have an indoor facility. You have if you really want to practice indoors. But I understand you have to do it outside sometimes. But practice indoors, practice in the dome. It's no guarantee they're going to leave. But they've done it under Jim Moore. They did it under Sean Payton. I mean, if they're going to do it, I guess they're going to do it. I mean, I guess it's not the worst of things. I mean, exploring the options of finding the way to to keep the players available during training camp doesn't hurt. But to me, I'm like, why not just practice indoors? And some of it has to do with their renovating some of their facility on Airline Drive, and they have to continue doing it next year. But it's no guarantee, in my opinion. But would I be surprised? No. But I wouldn't even know where they would explore going. Would they go back to the Greenbrier? I doubt it. Maybe they try something new. Would they go West Coast? And I just threw out San Diego because I was there. And I was like, oh, it's 75. It's beautiful. I mean, you can practice all day and break a sweat out there.
Cowboys are in Oxnard. It can be done every single year. I've read a lot and heard a lot of really positive stuff on Marshawn Lattimore. Have you seen that?
Yes, absolutely. He's locking down every single person he goes against, including Michael Thomas. Now, Mike isn't 2019 Mike, but boy, he has given Michael Thomas everything he wants. I think I've maybe seen Mike catch 2 passes against him in one-on-one drills or in team drills, but he has just been the best player in the entire camp for the Saints, and it's not even close. That's how good he's been. He has been just amazing over there on that side of the field.
Anything you'll be looking for in preseason game number 1 coming up on Sunday?
Yeah, I do want to see. I actually want to see how Jake Haener does. I remember last week you asked me who's creating some buzz that that maybe we don't talk enough about. I think Jake Haener has done a really good job throughout this entire camp. But I just want to see what it looks like whenever it's live action against another team.
Dennis Allen said it's likely he's going to play kind of his guys in the first game. I don't know what that means. If it means a drive or a quarter or a half or what. But what do you expect to see from the Saints starters on Sunday?
Yeah, I could see the two series. Put them out there for 2 series. Does that mean next week they do the same thing in LA against Chargers? Probably not. The joint practices I feel like have always been the most important practices for this team, and they're going to get back-to-back weeks of that with the Chargers and Texans here. I could see 2 series, maybe a quarter. I mean, that doesn't hurt at all. I mean, you got to get that chemistry. You got to build it a little bit in live action. I like it. I like the idea of playing your starters because it didn't work out last year when they didn't really play their starters in a preseason game, and they thought maybe, all right, well, whenever we get to the season, it'll be fine. We had all these practices. No, I think you got to get them out there and play and build a little bit more of that continuity and chemistry. So I like that idea of DA adapting and, doing the opposite of what he did last season. And I think that's going to work out well. I mean, that's, Derek Carr probably wants to get out there, and the receivers, they want to get out there and make sure things can happen. And, hey, man, I'm all for it. If you want to throw your starters out there, let them get out there and get some reps.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU, down there with the black and gold. Couple more questions here for you, Sharif. As far as on the offensive line, no change over the last week with Pete still being out and trying to get Hurst. Maybe you look down there at guard.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting Hurst at guard and getting Trevor Penning a lot more reps. And Trevor Penning he's getting better. I'll say he's getting better. I'm not going to just go out there and say, oh my God, he looks amazing. He's getting better, and you can see his sealing off blocks. And James Hurst, look, man, I don't know. There's no guarantee Andrew Speed's going to have a starting spot. I'll just say that. I mean, the way James and Trevor are playing, it's going to be tough. I mean, that's why that I like the idea of Dennis creating a lot of competition. That was the first thing he talked about before training camp started, creating competition, and that was one of the spots at the guard position. If, Andrew Pete isn't available to practice, James Hurst doesn't mind sliding in there and taking his spot. James Hurst has always been a guy who's available, and he's always a guy who can, play really well along that offensive line. So I think he has done well for the most part. There have been a lot of ups and downs with that offensive line and getting used to Derek Carr. But, look, they'll get through it through these practices and the games they actually play in the preseason.
Now that the kind of buzz of, oh, my God, he's back is kind of gone, is Jimmy Graham contributing? Is he getting a lot of reps, or is he kind of there to mentor some younger players?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, yeah, he's, mentoring Juwan Johnson, who, by the way, is also having a very solid camp. He and Derek Carr are really, really building this nice little chemistry. I mean, yesterday was 6 for 6 in a 2-minute offense. He caught 3 of those passes. But, yeah, Jimmy has done a good job of, mentoring some of the young guys like Juwan and Foster. But he's there for a specialized role. Let's be honest. At 36 years old, you can't teach height. When you're 6'6", 6'7", go up and get the ball, man. I don't think Joe Schmo or anybody who's 6 feet, 6'1" is going to out-jump the guy. And you might say, well, he's 6'36". Who cares? The dude got height. You can't teach height. You throw that up one-on-one, yeah, he has to get the separation, get open, but you have him one-on-one inside the 10, I mean, it almost feels like it's better than a 50-50 ball.
Saints on the field for the first time in a preseason capacity on Sunday. We'll be talking about it next week with Sharif. Thanks, man.
Anytime, Hunt.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU down in New Orleans. If you missed this a little earlier, the Gonzales Little League team, 1 game away from Williamsport, got the tying run to first base in the bottom of the 6th inning, which is the last inning, and were not able to push it across. So their road to Williamsport has been cut off. It'll be the folks from East Texas headed up to the Little League World Series, and the kiddos from Gonzales come on back home. But a heck of a run by them to get through 2 tournaments and get to the end. 1 game away from Williamsport. Going to be tough to swallow that one, but they'll look back on it with a lot of good memories. That's a great summer for those kids from Gonzales. All right, we'll come back and close it out.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Corey Barr, a champion of Louisiana. Champion of Louisiana because he's done great things outside of our state. He's been on Food Network, and he's in the culinary world making a name for himself. He beats Bobby Flay in Food Network Next Star. But he comes back to Monroe. He operates 3 businesses out of Monroe because being from Louisiana and being a Louisianian and bettering Louisiana is important to Corey Barr, and that's why he's a champion of Louisiana. You know plenty of champions of Louisiana. Nonprofits, people, businesses that are doing great philanthropic work in our state. LWCC has created the program Champions of Louisiana to celebrate those people. Go to LWCC.com, nominate a champion of Louisiana so that we can tell their story for LWCC. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756.
On Wednesdays, Off the Bench, we'll bring you the latest practice reports from the Saints and Tigers training camps. Who's standing out? Who should you be excited for? We'll continue to break down the seasons that will be as well. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You heard that T-Bob promo there saying that you're going to get the latest from LSU camp and Saints camp on Off the Bench tomorrow. I'm sure you will. I'm sure they will get to that over the course of 3 hours. But T-Bob is 12 minutes away from seeing Oppenheimer. And if you don't think they're going to talk about that tomorrow, I've got news for you. That's gonna come up. I'm thinking that guy's going to be pretty wired up to talk about Oppenheimer. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give you spoilers, but it was very good. Would highly suggest going to check it out in the theaters for the 3 hours. It was very, very good. We talked about it 2 weeks ago once I went and saw it. All right, well, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Hard Knocks returns tonight with the Jets. Take it or leave it.
Take it. I like Hard Knocks. Look, I'll take it. Here's the deal. August is a little tough from a sports perspective. Like, we're talking about practice a lot, which is not super interesting. You got some recruiting to talk about, which is maybe a little interesting. And I'm lucky and thankful this year that the Cubs are giving me something to do every night with a pennant race because they're right in the thick of it. But, like, you're reaching and searching in August to find something. And Hard Knocks kind of sets the mood for August. You hear the music. You got the little whatever, the violin, whatever that is. We'll have the sprinkler going and the equipment manager loading the football, and you'll have folks pulling into camp with their suitcases and whatnot. Like, I know what the episode is going to look like. It's going to be folks reporting to camp, rookies, that kind of stuff. But I'm in. I like it. It's something to occupy my brain from a sports perspective in August, which can be difficult. So I like Hard Knocks. I know it's kind of the same show each and every year. Some have been better than others. I think this has got a chance to be decent, even though they're not given the full access. I'm in on Hard Knocks. I will probably watch it tonight.
CBS writes that Sean Payton still has some work to do to reach the NFL Hall of Fame. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think if he were to, flame out and get fired after 3 years in Denver without a playoff appearance. That would hurt. And then you start to get to the Breeze discussion and all that. But, I mean, I think he's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, I've watched him now for 15 years down here, and you're like, they're prepared. Are there some questionable challenges at times? Probably. Is there also brilliant game planning and winning a ton of football games? Yeah. And in this league where it's so up and down and coaches get fired all the time, the ones that have gotten to the top and have rode it out and been able to dictate their own terms, the Belichicks, the Tomlins, the Carrolls, the Paytons, Andy Reid basically, even though he was fired after a great run in Philly, like that's Hall of Fame level stuff. So I would think he's going to get there, but I would suggest, I don't think it would be great for the legacy if you went out there, was bad in Denver, and then you're like, oh, we just had Breeze. Like, you could, if you're a voter, you could make that case, even though I wouldn't.
Paul Skeens will begin his professional career this week with the Pirates Rookie League team. Take it or leave it.
I'm surprised. I'll take it. I think it's fine. He's going to go out there and pitch a little bit. They're not going to throw him 140 pitches. He's just going to go out there and stay fresh, keep the arm going, work on some mechanics, let the Pirates staff evaluate him, all that kind of stuff. I don't think it'll be too strenuous an activity, and he may shut it down pretty early here after a few innings. But, I mean, innings for the fall, not innings for the one start when he goes out there. I thought they might shut him down, tell him to come on back in January and February and get ramped up. But I'm okay with him going out there and pitching. He's a big, strong dude with great mechanics, and I think he's off to something really, really special in Pittsburgh. I just hope it doesn't railroad my Cubs too often.
All right, last one here. Phillies shortstop Trey Turner has struggled with the bat in his first season with the team, hitting .238 after signing an 11-year, $300 million contract. And Philly fans are giving him standing ovations. Philly fans have gone soft. Take it or leave it.
I will leave this. I think they've grown a brain. This doesn't really happen in the college world because I think everyone realizes that these are 19-year-olds and you just you just support. But for some reason, somewhere along the line, Joe Fan decided that if he was going to spend his hard-earned money to go see his team play in the big fancy stadium and that guy on the team had made a bunch of money and wasn't playing it very well, that it was beneficial in some way or warranted in some way to boo them, which makes no sense in my brain.
I agree with you, but the question is, have they gone soft? Which I would say they have because they used to always.
Soft. They're intelligent. You would be like throwing golf balls at this guy at a certain point. You know what you're supposed to do when your team is fit? Look what happened to Jordan Thompson in Omaha this year. He was 0 for $1 billion. He comes up, big spot, championship game 3. Our whole purple and gold contingent is chanting Jordan Thompson. That's what fans are supposed to do. Not boo and cuss at every big league or professional player that doesn't play up to your standard because you think they're dogging or something just because you paid money for a ticket. You're actively hurting your team. You're making them, the player uncomfortable. You're making them press. You're making them on edge. You're making them feel like they've got to do more. It's like, that's not the way it's supposed to work. It's crazy to me that big city professional sports fans have adopted this attitude that actively hurts their team. But I boo this guy's a bum, or booing this guy, boo. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Drink another beer. You're an idiot. Like that's all I can say about that fan. Support the guys. Cheer for them. Standing ovation, I'm for it. Trey Turner's not trying to hit 238. Now, if you've got a quarterback who throws 2 pick sixes and never attempts to tackle the guy because he's not trying, he's dogging it, and he goes into the media and laughs about it and says, I got a big payday, well, then let him have it. Fine. But if there's evidence that the athlete is attempting to do well and trying to help you win games, jumping down their throats makes no sense, and taking it as a badge of honor like the New York fans and the Philly fans do is stupid. And that's all I have to say, I guess, about that. Pluckers Trivia tonight. That's not stupid. That's great. I might get booed at Pluckers Trivia night. I think it's happened before if I screw up an answer. But we'll be there at 8:30, Pluckers Nicholson location. It's really fun. Hour and a half, 8:30, just before 10. You can win Pluckers gift cards, drink delicious cold beers, eat some awesome wings, and we have a good time. So grab a crew, grab a team, and come on out and play some sports trivia tonight at the Nicholson location. We do it each and every Tuesday at 8:30. I'll be watching the Cubs during that too, but 6:05 start time, our time. Be kind of wrapping up by the time trivia starts. All right, if you missed any of our show today, on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. Also, our YouTube channels. Hunt on Saints. I gave my thoughts on the Saints signing Kareem Hunt and Anthony Barr. That's going to be on Hunt on Saints. 10 minutes, very digestible. Subscribe to the channel so that it shows up on your feed. Also talked about the top 100 players in the NFL as voted on by NFL players. Justin Jefferson, number 2 on that list. Interesting. Glenn West, go 24/7 talking LSU camp. That was at 1:30. I gave my thoughts on LSU's hoops exhibition down in the Bahamas, what I thought about that box score. Talked to LSU running backs at 2 o'clock. Meet the freshman with Mac Markway and Tyree Adams at 2:15. And then Sharif talking Saints at 2:30. All that you can find on demand. Tomorrow's going to be a What If Wednesday. We'll chat college football with J.D. Piquel and get you the latest from LSU camp. Matt Moscone's about to drive you home. He was at LSU camp today. That's next on 104.5 ESPN.